The tragic cost of toxic leadership, how micromanagement and lack of trust are driving away your best employees. Abstract. This article explores how pervasive issues like micromanagement and lack of trust are inadvertently driving top talent away from organizations. The article argues that toxic leadership behaviors that undermine employee performance, engagement, and retention are commonly harming businesses. Two such behaviors, micromanagement and lack of trust, are examined in depth. Examples are provided of how micromanagement stifles initiative and innovation while lack of trust becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. However, the article offers a solution in the form of building a culture of empowerment. Trust, care, transparency, accountability, coaching, and flexibility. When leaders genuinely care about developing both people and outcomes, empower employees, and embrace accountability over micromanagement, businesses can mitigate dysfunction and maximize human potential to retain top performers. As a professional consultant and leadership educator, one of the most common issues I see negatively impacting organizations is toxic leadership characteristics that undermine employee performance, engagement, and retention. While leaders may intend to achieve results, all too often their approaches backfire by alienating high performers and fueling unnecessary turnover. After years of studying organizational cultures and their impact, I have witnessed the real costs of these dysfunctional dynamics firsthand. Today we will explore how pervasive micromanagement and lack of trust are inadvertently driving away top talent, to the detriment of businesses. More importantly, I will offer practical solutions any leader can implement to build a high-integrity, high-performing culture where people want to stay. Micromanagement, suffocating initiative and innovation. Extensive research has consistently shown that excessive oversight and lack of autonomy are among the top reasons employees seek new opportunities. Deci and Ryan. 1985. When leaders fail to empower subordinates and insist on controlling every minor decision, they communicate a lack of confidence while also stifling creativity and risk-taking. Employees start to feel more like cogs in a machine than valued professionals with expertise to contribute. As a consultant, I have witnessed this dynamic play out time and time again across numerous industries. One software company I worked with provides a poignant example. The CEO, a brilliant engineer himself, felt the need to deeply scrutinize every line of code and weigh in on even small design choices. Programmers began dreading meetings as opportunities for public critique rather than collaboration. Productivity and morale plummeted as individuals focused on avoiding problems rather than surfacing innovative solutions. Within a year, over 30% of the development team had left, with the best engineers citing lack of autonomy as their primary reason. The costs of micromanagement extend far beyond direct retention impacts. Stifled employees spend mental energy navigating preferences rather than freely problem-solving. Innovation suffers as risk aversion grows. Customers also pay the price when excessive oversight incentives playing it safe over experimenting with new ideas. Leaders may think tight control equals results, but it usually backfires by alienating top performers and squashing the creativity that drives true competitive advantage. Lack of trust, a self-fulfilling prophecy. Another surefire way to lose your best people is by conveying a lack of trust through excessive oversight, stringent policies, or demeaning interactions. Whitener et al. 1998. Unfortunately, distrust often becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that erodes the very behaviors leaders are trying to foster. When treated as potential problems instead of professionals, employees tend to live down to low expectations through diminished effort and engagement. During an assessment of a global consulting firm's client engagement model, I discovered distrust was seriously hampering project execution and satisfaction. Partners micro-reviewed expenses, time reports, and deliverables with suspicion rather than partnership. Associates started padding reports and bills for fear of minor missteps. Quality suffered as innovation gave way to risk avoidance. Clients picked up on the dysfunction and increasingly took their business elsewhere. The unfortunate irony is that distrust breeds precisely the kinds of behaviors leaders fear most. When treated as competent adults rather than suspects, people rise to meet high standards through pride in their work rather than box-checking compliance. While oversight maintains standards, an over-reliance on it communicates the opposite of empowerment. Excellence and care for people's success. As frontline consulting work demonstrated daily, trust is the currency that drives top performance. Retention and loyalty over the long haul. Building a culture of empowerment, trust, and care. So how can leaders shift from dysfunction to a high-performing culture where top talent wants to stay and grow? The answer lies in embracing an empowerment mindset where people are respected and developed rather than merely directed. While shifting mindsets takes time, even small acts of empowerment can pay dividends. Empower through transparency. Share organizational priorities, metrics and financials to empower employees with appropriate context for their work. Watch initiative and ownership multiply as people understand their impact. Trust through accountability. Replace micromanagement with clear expectations and accountability for results rather than activity reports. Trust people's judgment until proven otherwise. Watch compliance shift to commitment. Develop through coaching. Replace critiques with caring, collaborative coaching focused on growth. Help people strengthen weak areas privately rather than publicly criticize. Watch morale and motivation soar as people feel valued over just productive. Care for well-being. Prioritize work-life integration and flexibility where possible. Express care for people holistically rather than solely as economic contributors. Watch loyalty and discretionary effort increase in kind. Appreciate both successes and efforts. Verbally recognize wins but also efforts that fell short for the right reasons. Praise problem finding over just problem solving. Watch experimentation and innovation blossom with psychological safety. The costs of toxic cultures are staggering given associated turnover, lost opportunities and poor client-customer experience. Yet the rewards of empowerment are profound and sustainable when leaders genuinely care about developing both people and business outcomes. With even small shifts in mindset and priorities, any organization can mitigate dysfunction and maximize the contributions of their best employees. Conclusion: micromanagement and lack of trust are silent killers undermining performance in too many organizations today. While well-intentioned, leaders fail to realize the psychological and business impacts of these approaches. However, the alternative of empowerment, care, and coaching provides a simple yet powerful framework for engagement and retention of top talent. By embracing transparency, accountability, development, and flexibility, businesses can mitigate dysfunction while maximizing human potential. With compassion for people's growth and lives beyond work, any industry can build a nurturing, high-performing culture where top performers are proud rather than punished to contribute their very best each day. While shifting mindsets takes diligence, even incremental progress will pay immense returns by keeping the ideal employees who fuel competitive advantage and business success over the long haul.